Welcome to this episode of Law in a Coffee Shop. We are going to have a look at some real-world examples. I do a lot of property transfers, and something that I see again and again is the seller of a property not being sure of what it's going to cost him to sell his property. It actually feels funny. Mostly a seller thinks I'm only going to get money, but the reality is there are a lot of costs for the seller when you sell your property, and a lot of those costs, unfortunately, have to be paid up front, and it could easily add up to about, let's say, 25,000 Rand, depending on the water and light, size of the property, etc. So let's quickly have a run through that. You are selling your house. Your house has a value of 2.7 million Rand. So that's the purchase price you are going to get, obviously, that the buyer is going to pay. But you have to firstly pay the rest of your bond. So if there's still money left over on your bond, you are going to have to pay that. Let's say, for this example, you still have R1 million to be paid on your bond. So you'll have to pay that. Then you have to ensure that all the certificates of compliance is dealt with and looked after. So you are going to have to organize your electricity certificate. They are usually around, let's say, 1,000 Rand, but most of the times there's some repairs that needs to be done, and that will influence the cost, obviously. You have to get a gas certificate if you have a gas installation. If there's repairs, you'll have to repair that. And there might be other certificates as well. If you are in the Western Cape province, you will need a wood borer certificate as well. So there could be other costs. These things are for your account, and you have to organize them up front. They are luckily valid for 2 years. Then you have to pay for the cancellation of your bond. So the moment you cancel your bond, your bond bank, they instruct another attorney that's on their panel. You don't have a choice in that necessarily, and you have to pay that attorney. That could easily be in the region of 5,000 Rand to do the cancellation of your bond. And then obviously you have to pay your estate agent if you sold your property through him or her. And on a 2.7 million Rand house, that could easily amount up to 125,000 Rand. Luckily, you don't have to pay that up front. That goes off the account with the registration of the property. Then we need a clearance certificate from the municipality that all the rates and taxes and water and electricity have been paid for 3 or 4 months, so that we can obtain the certificate. That could easily amount to 12,000 Rand. And if your property is in a sectional title, or there's a body corporate or a homeowners association, they also need to provide us with a certificate, and we need to pay the clearance figures for that as well. That could be as well in the region of 4,000 Rand. It could be more, it could be less. The two clearances, from the date of registration, you'll obviously get some money back on that pro rata from the buyer of the property. Obviously, the day that he becomes the owner, he becomes responsible for the costs from that date till the clearance date. End of the day, what do you receive in your pocket? Let's look here. About 1.5 million. So that is something that you just have to keep in mind. When you are selling your property, when you're thinking about selling your property in the future at some point, keep those costs in mind. Put some money aside that you are aware, proactive, prepared for those costs. And this can amount, if you only recently bought your property a year ago, 2 years ago, and you paid all those costs up front for the transfer attorney, the bond attorney, which would also obviously amount to, let's say, 100,000 Rand. These costs can add up. So rather be prepared,